In this lesson, I'll take the images I've exported from Sketchbook Pro as PNGs with transparency and bring them into Autodesk 3ds Max as textures on planes. That way I can space them out and fly a camera through them to bring my storyboards to life. In 3ds Max, I've set my project folder first to one I made for the FIRST Robotics animation competition. Now I'm ready to begin. I'll go into a front view by pressing F and hold Control and right-click to bring up the modeling quad. I'll choose Plane from the right-click menu. I'll hit G to turn off my grid. Now you're probably wondering, how big do I make this plane? We'll go back to Sketchbook Pro for a sec and explain. In Sketchbook Pro, under File, Page Setup, remember we had set this default image at 16 by 9. So as long as I format my planes at 16 by 9, the images won't stretch. In 3ds Max then, in the Modifier panel, I'll choose a length of 9 and a width of 16, making sure my length and width segments are at 1 and 1. I'll also make sure that Generate Mapping Coordinates is checked, which it should be by default. There's my plane, ready for material. I'll hit M to pull up the material editor. We can use either the Slate or the Compact material editor, whatever works. For this one I'll use the Compact. I'll change this material to a standard material, because that's all we really need for now. The first thing I always do with a material is name it. I'll call this one SBE Sky, for Storyboard Element Sky. And into the diffuse map, I'll add a bitmap. In the bitmap, I'll choose my storyboard element Sky. I'll go to Parent, and I'll make sure I turn on the Show Shaded Material in Viewport button. Then I can drag this material right onto that image. In the viewport, we can see the texture on the plane. There might be some banding or other minor resolution issues, which will go away in rendering. The final thing to do is to take this map from the diffuse slot and instance it over to the self-illumination. That way, the material is illuminated by its own color, and I don't have to put lighting in. Now I'm ready to make the materials for the other planes. I'll close the material editor for a sec, zoom out, and hold Shift and clone this plane. I'll make 6 or 7 copies depending on how many I need. I also like to name my objects as I make them. I'll call the first one SBE Sky, for Storyboard Element Sky. I'll pick the next one and name them from farthest away to closer. So this will be SBE Skyline Far, and that's the next material I'm going to make. Back in the material editor, pressing M to activate it, I'll take my existing material for the sky, drag it across to a new slot, and rename it. It's called SBE Skyline Far. I'll go into the diffuse map, and down in the bitmap parameters, go choose the next PNG. I'll choose my Skyline Far image. There it is with its alpha channel showing transparency. Now, it's almost working. We're almost ready. What I need to do back here in the parent is take this map and instance it across to the opacity channel as well. I'll drag it over and choose Instance. It's working. We can see that it knocked out the area above the buildings. I'll put it on this plane and see if this came across right. Looks like it worked nicely. The test, of course, is to take this plane and drag it over the top of my others. Not bad, but a little funny. The buildings are kind of transparent. Here's the fix for it. In any of the maps, because they're all instanced, I'll go in and change how it affects the alpha channel. In the parameters, I'll choose monochannel output by alpha. And now the buildings are solid and they are transparent around. I'll make sure that the alpha source is from the image alpha, and pre-multiplied I'm going to leave it on. This is the cool part now. I've taken the map and I've instanced it to diffuse self-illumination opacity. I can take the material, copy it over, rename it. This will be Skyline Mid, and go and change one map. In this case, picking my middle skyline. Because that map is instanced, all of them change, and there is my middle skyline material ready to go on the next plane. I'll repeat the process for all of my elements to set this up.